At 45, Kimmi Scott finally decided it was time to speak her truth. For years, she had carried the weight of her struggles in silence, keeping her personal battles tucked away from the public eye. But when the pain becomes heavier than the fear of judgment, something changes. And for Kimmi, that change meant exposing the truth about her marriage to Maurice Scott, a truth that was far from the picture-perfect image seen on Love and Marriage, Huntsville. Maurice had always been a man who knew how to present himself. The sharp suits, the confident walk, the smooth way he spoke, it all gave off the impression of a man who had it all together. On camera, he was portrayed as the intelligent businessman, the devoted husband, the calm voice in a group full of chaos. Standing beside him, Kimmi appeared to be the perfect match, graceful, grounded, elegant, and strong. Together, they seemed like the couple who had figured it all out. But television, as polished as it can look, has a way of hiding the storms brewing behind closed doors. And for Kimmi, that storm had been building for years. Those who watched closely could see the signs before she ever spoke about them. The smiles between her and Maurice began to feel forced. The warmth that once filled their interactions seemed to fade. They carried themselves like a couple trained to keep certain things off camera, and their silence wasn't the kind that protects a relationship, it was the kind that smothers it. Kimmi was never one to create drama for attention. Even when something was bothering her, she carried herself with grace, answering just enough to move a conversation forward but never revealing the depth of what she was feeling. But over time, even the strongest composure begins to crack. Fans noticed that her natural spark seemed dimmer. She appeared more tired, more withdrawn. Meanwhile, Maurice often dodged serious conversations, using humor or changing the subject whenever things got uncomfortable. That avoidance may have worked in everyday situations, but when your partner is struggling, it doesn't just feel like they're ignoring you, it feels like they're pulling away the lifeline you desperately need. Then came the moment that would change everything. Kimmi revealed to the world that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. It was not just another reality TV storyline, it was real life, raw and unfiltered. Her voice trembled, her eyes fought back tears, and the room fell silent as the weight of her words sank in. Viewers felt it deeply. This was not entertainment, this was survival. At first, Maurice appeared to step up. He attended her medical appointments, stood beside her during treatments, and was physically present in ways that mattered. But as time passed, people noticed a difference between being physically there and being emotionally there. His support began to look more like obligation than compassion. Kimmi, who had always been strong, needed more than just someone to drive her to appointments. She needed reassurance, comfort, and vulnerability from her husband. She hinted at feeling unseen, at carrying the emotional weight alone even when someone was right beside her. These moments weren't dramatic blowouts caught on camera. They were small, quiet pauses that spoke louder than any shouting match ever could. Then, whispers began to spread outside the show. People claimed Kimmi felt emotionally abandoned. Her fears and fatigue were met with silence, and just as those rumors began to quiet down, something else stirred the water. Legal paperwork tied to the couple's name began appearing and disappearing quickly. The timing was suspicious, aligning with one of the hardest phases of her cancer treatment. People started to wonder, was Maurice trying to protect his assets? Or was he imagining life without her in it? Things took another turn when a grainy video surfaced online. In it, Maurice was seen walking out of a law office downtown, but he wasn't alone. A woman none of the public had ever seen before was holding his arm. She laughed softly, touched his back, and stayed close to him as they walked to her car. The clip hit social media like wildfire. At first, some defended him, suggesting she could be a colleague or a friend. But when fans slowed the video down and examined the body language, the excuses became harder to believe. Within hours, internet detectives identified the woman as Dr. Nia Vaughn, a dermatologist from Atlanta with ties to the entertainment industry. She had attended a real estate seminar hosted by Maurice, appeared in the background at a gala he spoke at, and her professional history hinted at connections to reality TV productions. The pieces were falling into place, and fans were left to ask the burning question: was this innocent, or something far more personal? The backlash was fierce. Hashtags calling Maurice out began trending regionally. People accused him of emotional betrayal, pointing to Kimmi's battle with cancer and the loneliness she had hinted at. It wasn't just about another woman, it was about the timing, the optics, and the possibility that while his wife was fighting for her life, he was giving his attention elsewhere. Then, Kimmi posted an Instagram story, a plain black background with the words, "People know exactly what they're doing. Don't let the performance fool you." She didn't name names, but she didn't have to. Behind the scenes, rumors swirled that Kimmi had found messages and photos between Maurice and the woman weeks before the video went public. Flirty exchanges that suggested an ongoing relationship. When she confronted him, he allegedly brushed it off, claiming she was overreacting. A well-known blogger later claimed Kimmi had met with a top divorce attorney in Atlanta, someone famous for representing high-profile clients and fighting aggressively in court. This wasn't a just-in-case meeting. According to the blogger's sources, it was the beginning of a carefully planned exit. When the divorce filing became public, insiders said it wasn't a vague irreconcilable differences statement. The documents reportedly described years of emotional neglect, a withdrawal of support and intimacy that left Kimmi feeling more like a roommate than a wife. What hurt most was the timing. These issues weren't ancient history, they were happening during the very period when she needed him most during her cancer battle. The documents also referenced private communications between Maurice and another woman, late-night messages, personal jokes, and an emotional closeness that crossed boundaries no married partner should cross. Finding these messages while already physically and emotionally drained broke something in Kimmi that couldn't be fixed. Instead of offering remorse, Maurice allegedly told her she was exaggerating and even hinted that her stress or medication might be clouding her judgment, a tactic friends described as calculated gaslighting. The filings detailed how Kimmi tried repeatedly to save their marriage. She suggested counseling multiple times, sought advice from pastors, and leaned on friends to help bridge the growing distance. But each time, she was met with either outright refusal or empty promises that went nowhere. By the time she decided to file for divorce, Kimmi's decision wasn't about revenge or creating a scandal. It was about survival. After fighting cancer, she refused to spend the rest of her life in a marriage that left her feeling invisible. Filing was her way of saying she would no longer accept the bare minimum dressed up as love. In the weeks after filing, Kimmi shifted her focus to healing not just physically, but emotionally. She surrounded herself with friends who had proven their loyalty during her hardest days. She engaged more with her fans, showing that vulnerability and strength can coexist. Her public appearances carried a new kind of confidence, not the forced calm of someone keeping up appearances, but the peace of someone rebuilding her life on her own terms. Maurice, meanwhile, stepped back from the spotlight. His social media became a mix of generic motivational quotes, business promotions, and occasional family pictures posts that sparked more questions than answers. His refusal to address the allegations only deepened speculation. For the public, the end of Kimmi and Maurice's marriage felt like watching the final unraveling of a thread that had been fraying for years. But for Kimmi, it was more than an ending, it was the start of a new life. Her story struck a chord beyond reality TV. It became a discussion about what real support looks like in a relationship. It showed that presence without emotional connection can be just as lonely as absence. And it reminded people that walking away doesn't always mean you've stopped loving the other person. Sometimes, it means you've finally started loving yourself enough to leave. Kimmi's journey is now one of resilience. She faced the fight for her health and the fight for her peace, and she chose herself in the end. And for many who have quietly endured similar battles, her courage has become a reminder that you don't have to stay in spaces that hurt you, no matter how perfect they may look on the outside. If you liked this breakdown, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a story. Celeb Nova will have it all covered for you. Thanks for watching, fam. Stay real, stay respectful in the comments, and remember, sometimes silence isn't peace, it's preparation. See y'all in the next video. This is Celeb Nova, where the drama ends and the truth begins.